Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room with myself, Lewis. And today we're joined by another special guest here on the Expert Analysis Series. It's a man who's become a staple in the online footballing community. He's a man who I'm convinced his motto is "We move, we move." This seems to be the only thing I hear him say whenever I meet him. And he's become one of the key members on the Redmen TV YouTube channel. It is Steve. Is it Hoare? I can never remember how to pronounce this.
Yeah, Ste Hoare, fine.
Yeah. Ste Hoare. There we go. I've just killed the intro, but yeah. So Ste Hoare, one of the key members of Redmen TV. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, go subscribe to the channel. And if you are a fan of Redmen TV, you can head over to Ireland, if you like, on March the 24th in Belfast or March the 25th in Dublin. They are doing live shows. And there is also one April 24th in London. Tickets are on sale now. Steve, how are you?
That was very kind and probably too kind, Lewis. Here. Thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be speaking to you rather than me speaking at you all the time. It's nice that we can switch the roles up a little bit.
I mean, I enjoy my time on Redmen. I think I've never known someone who can go from so sort of reserved, I suppose is the word, getting all the information to just suddenly come to life and just, speak as well as you do on camera. So with that in mind, I mean, are you nervous going live on stage in March and April? Is that something you're looking forward to?
That's surreal. I probably will be at the time. At the minute, mate, I'll be honest, we haven't really planned out too much. Got little bits of ideas what we're going to be doing. We've done live stuff before. To be honest, because what we do on camera is just who we are. Like, there's no I don't know. There's no character. We're not playing a character. There's no games. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to remember, oh, I meant to do this. We just be ourselves on the channel. So I say what I think, the guys or the girls say what they think. So the fact that we can do that makes it quite easier because we'll just react to how it comes. Obviously, difference being on the stage is that people are paying tickets, so we're gonna have to have some structure to a show. We can't just rabble on. But I tend not to get nervous. If truth be told, I'm not much of a nervous person. I'm very excitable, and I'm very much I want it now kind of thing. Greedy, maybe. I hate waiting. But if something needs doing, I just want to do it and get it done. So it's a new experience for us. It's been, I think, Redmen Ireland was 2018, I think maybe 2017, because obviously COVID shut it all down. So it's the first time we've been live outside of Liverpool for probably over 5 years. So it's a long time, and a lot of things have changed. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I find it surreal that Redmen have gone from a fan channel of a football club to suddenly being such a huge presence in the online world that suddenly, you've got people paying to go see you live. It's like the overlap on tour and stuff. Does it ever sort of sink in for a minute just how far Redmen's come from those early days?
I mean, that question, probably Paul and Chris are probably the best people to answer that. They've been there since day one. Of course, I first got involved with Redmen 2012, 2013, but that was very much as a guest, just coming on the shows talking about Liverpool. And then this what we're doing now over virtually, that wasn't really a thing for the guys to film the show. It had to be pretty much in person. Obviously the pandemic made this more people did this more often, video stuff, but it wasn't really a thing in that. I mean, I'm speaking like it was ancient, but 10 years ago, but it wasn't a thing. So the lads needed people in Liverpool who watched the game, maybe did the content creation or whatever. So that's why I got involved, mate. So back then, if you said that I would be working for Paul and Chris, then I'd have wow, a lot will have had to change from my life then to what it is now, and that all worked out. But it's credit to them too, really. They're the ones who they did it. They set it up. They spotted the gap in the market. The fan channels being a culture now. Redmen wasn't the first. Don't let anyone else say different. Nobody was before Redmen. It existed in a different guise, perhaps, than what it is now. It was more like sketch shows, a bit of comedy, a little bit as well. There wasn't too much talking about that, and then a little bit around the footy. But I'm guessing if you say to Paul and Christian, you're going from back bedroom in Paul's house to where they were both doing it on the side of full time to now there's 10 of us full time. We're in a studio, we're in an office, and it is mad. Listen, mate, I just jumped on the gravy train halfway down the track. You know what I mean? I don't deserve none of that. I just helped Paul and Chris take it from here to here a little bit, but they've done an amazing job. I'm thankful because it's my full-time job now, which is amazing.
Well, I mean, you're living the dream of a lot of people, and like went back and watched some of the earlier videos, and there's ones of like you on like a Sabuthio stick up on the wall, guessing the starting 11, and it's mad how like I've been in the Redmen office, and it's so chaotic in a day. Like it's one show to another to another. Is it? Be honest. Is it stressful at points having to work that quick that much?
So yeah, it can be. Listen, mate, my wife's a nurse. You know what I mean? Like she's got stress. You know what I mean? If my stress is there's going to be a video on the internet half an hour late because about Trent Alexander-Arnold's free kicks, it's not the end of the world. I always say we talk about footy on the internet. That's all we do. And so of course, listen, what's made it different is that we've got people's families who depend upon the wages that we pay them. So therefore, it can't just be, I don't fancy doing one, I don't fancy this, or whatever. Like you've got the certain, you do have to make money. You've got to, people's wages depend upon it. That's where my stress has come from in terms of, I manage a team of like 6-7 people now, and they need paying. So that's where it can be a bit stressful. But I know you say it's chaotic, but it's organized chaos. Like we everything's planned out in advance, and we know the limitations of what we can and can't do. So I know I've got a production team, and they'll tell me we need this amount of time between that one and that one to do that. So it's all like it's control. But yeah, listen, the stresses will come. When things breaks, things go wrong, which can happen. A pandemic can happen, or the most stressful thing I feel though is it's the things I can't control. So a lot of our content, we're not the scream shouty type of people. That just isn't who we are. If we started doing that to get views, acting a character, or just being abusive, shouty, and people listen, some people like that, and that's what they do, and that's their character. But I'm not that type of football fan. I'm not that type of person. So when Liverpool are crap, like where that can hurt us sometimes. Not some people just like Liverpool got beat 2-0. I don't really want to think about the footy. I'll just leave that one. You know what I mean? Other fan channels, you might get like a Man United fan who goes on and watches because they want to see some fella losing his head and losing his shit. We don't really. If it sort of needs saying, then it'll be said. You know what I mean? There's plenty of times where we've had complaints about X, Y, and Z, or the owners, or the lack of spend, or whatever. But we're not like, listen, Mo Salah missed the chance. I'm not going to bite his head off and tell him he's shite and never play for Liverpool again. If you want that, go elsewhere. I'm sure you'll find it. That's what can be stressful for us sometimes, is that effectively a lot of our business rests on Jürgen and the boys, which isn't the worst place for it to be. But also, I can't control that. You know what I mean? Like I can't, and that's the only thing that sometimes can bother you. Like best laid plans of mice and men and all that are all sound, but until something happens and all your centre halves get injured or something, you know what I mean? That can be difficult, mate. But listen, I can't sit here and say I'm stressing out over it, because it's I talk about footy on the internet. Like that's all we do. That's what we do.
It's more stressful things in life, I suppose. And I mean, you mentioned there, your wife, and obviously your bio on Twitter says, proud husband and dad. What do your kids think of this, about what you do for a living? I mean, are they massive fans of it?
Yeah, not particularly. Like they're a little bit young. They know that sometimes like they put YouTube on the telly and recommendations will be like a Redmen video. My face is on there, like Daddy's on the telly, but like it's not. My son's 9. He likes his footy, but he's not like, he plays FIFA and he watches the Reds sometimes. They do get it, but I don't think they properly get it. So no, they're okay. They're not too bad, to be honest with you. If anything, like sometimes they'll be like, I remember once, I think I was on BBC. I think it was on the BBC, and I got a picture of me. I done the interview, whatever I did, and then I got my missus text me straight away, and it was a picture of my daughter that spotted me on the telly, and she was like, "Oh my god, it's me dad!" A little video, and that was nice. But no, mate, it's not like I don't think they're too aware exactly what it is. They know what YouTube is, and they know like they watch all the big YouTube channels. So my daughter watches all the kids stuff. My son's into like Mr. Beast and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, although they do ask, like they do call me a YouTuber. I don't think I'm a YouTuber, but if someone asks what Daddy does, they say he's a YouTuber, which is a bit weird.
I mean, I've seen the background vlog that you did like 2 years ago. I mean, that was quite YouTubey. I can't lie, that
Yeah,
was a really good one.
yeah.
I mean, so yeah, again, just keep on like the family for a second. Was there anyone when you were younger who was your influence to start supporting the club? Was it a family member or just something you picked up on your own?
Yeah, it was the family, mate. So mum and dad, Liverpool fans, season ticket holders. It was just I can't remember not having Liverpool in my life ever
Mm,
really. So yeah, day one, I can't remember anything different. My house doesn't exist anymore. My first house, it's kind of where the club shop is now. The new club shop, that area. That's
mm,
where
yeah.
that's where I lived. Them houses that got knocked down, so that's how close I lived to Anfield. But yeah, mate, I can't remember nothing different. I remember just like being obsessed with it from. I can't remember the time when I wasn't obsessed with it. You know what I mean? Like my son's 9 now. He probably isn't as obsessed as I probably was at that age. It probably. I just always remember it was always Liverpool, mate, from day one. Really, I didn't have a chance. It was brainwashed. I had no choice.
I mean, that tends to be the answer from a lot of people is like family, and it's just something they grew up with. What's what's your earliest memory of being a Liverpool supporter?
I remember a few matches. So I remember, I think it might have been, I think it was my 7th birthday. I'm born in December. So I used to always get tickets for like my birthday around the Christmas period sometimes.
Mm,
I remember we beat Man United 2-0. Robbie Fowler scored both goals. I vividly remember being at that game. They had that ugly grey kit that they had that they said was invisible at the time. Robbie Fowler scored one at either end. I think he scored a free kick in front of the cop and another goal down the other end. That's the
mm.
first. That's the first proper memory I've got of is that era, Robbie Fowler, the era when he scored the fastest hat trick against Arsenal. I was at that game. That era, really, Robbie Fowler's like when I think of like Liverpool as an earliest memory, it's Robbie Fowler scoring goals effectively and wanting to be Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, like I when I was a kid, it used to be like Michael Owen. I was obsessed with Michael Owen at one point, and John Arisa was like he was one of the main players. You had all the legends about the goals he'd score, and you go back and watch them. It's like bloody hell, like he was unreal. Who you said Robbie Fowler there? Obviously, he was a player that like, you really really liked as a child. And that is there anyone? Was there any other sort of influences? Anyone that you really looked up to when you were younger around that time period, other than Robbie Fowler?
Yeah, again, you mentioned Michael Owen. He was the other one, really. So it was there was that crossover of like Michael Owen in the 95, sorry, Robbie Fowler mid 90s, and then Owen kind of later 90s. So by the time the late 90s come, that's when I think ages like 12 onwards maybe is when you first like properly get into it, like obsessed almost with it. And that was like the late 90s, early 2000s. And that was Michael Owen. He was the best player. Ah, excuse me. He was arguably the best player in the world. He got voted literally the Ballon d'Or winner. So yeah, it was very early on as a kid. It was Fowler, but then when I was kind of like more obsessed with it all and like watching everything and reading everything, it was just a Michael Owen show. And the fact that like he was England's player as well, and he was massive. It was kind of like that made it easier to get stuff about him. You know what I mean? He was everywhere. He was the poster child of everything. So yeah, it was probably Michael Owen.
Touched on a lot of like big players there and a lot of huge things that have happened. If I said to you, right, to modern day, all the stuff you've done at Redmen or before Redmen or anything like that, if I said to you, right, go back, tell your younger self one thing you're going to do that will it'll blow you away as a child, what would that be that you've done?
Yeah, if you'd have told, I don't know, I'm trying to think, 10-year-old me that he get to spend some interviewing Michael Owen, talking to Michael Owen, spent be either his head would have fell off. Like he'd have been like, "What?" Like it's mad. Like, there's other things as well, mate. Like I could probably just text Jamie Carragher a message now, and he might reply later. And like that, if you'd have told us that, like what? Like how was that a thing? You know, like I've been to Jamie Carragher's house. Like that, I imagine that. Like that's just like bizarre. If you'd have told like me in the 2000s, oh by the way, mate, you're gonna go to Jamie Carragher's house and have a chat with him and get a shirt. Things like that. It's just mad, isn't it? Like it is. When I think about it, it's bizarre. Really, it's hard to comprehend. You get me?
Well, it's surreal that like a channel that, like you said before, was just filmed in someone's back bedroom talking about Liverpool can suddenly become this huge presence in the online world and even the footballing world. Like Paul's been on BT Sport, you've mentioned yourself, or TNT Sports, should I say, you've been on BBC. It's incredible how far like everyone's come, and with that in mind, What's the future like for Redmen? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows, mate? It's so hard. I want to get out and about more. This start of the live show stuff is definitely something I'm really keen for us to do. Listen, I'll be honest now. I'll be honest with you, Lewis. People listen, you don't make that much money off it going live. I'll be honest with you. By the time you take into account the, getting people transport there and from, and how many you lose 4 members of staff for 2 days. The money's not great, but it's just getting out and about and meeting Liverpool fans again, because that's the one thing that I love most about my job. 100% is when I do the watch-alongs, for the games. And we say, like, I always ask people, and I'm fascinated to know. I probably bore them, to be honest, but I always say, can you just tell me where you are in the world, where you're watching, like what time is it, where are you watching, let me know. And then the replies come in, and there's a guy, and it's midnight in Australia, and there's a lady in LA, and it's 7 in the morning. And we've had a fella who messaged in from an oil rig once, and we've had people on like army bases in the Middle East. It's mad, and that's the thing I love the most. If someone said to me, here's £100, Steve, go and spend on whatever you want for Redmen, I was going to America, Australia, Canada. I'd be everywhere. That would be the dream. That would be the ideal thing. Like we know where, like, the locations where there's a lot of Liverpool supporters. So Australia, or both coasts of America, northeastern and kind of southwest regions of America, they tend to like pocket of Liverpool fans there. So that if it was up to me, that would be, if in terms of growth of Redmen, it'd be definitely trying to get out and about more and just meet these things, because the story's a boss. Like, I think, we're lucky. I grew up in Liverpool. I can half get tickets when I want to. There's always a mate of a mate, or someone's got a season ticket, or I can walk down there now. I can drive to Anfield in 20 minutes. Like, that's great, and I'm so lucky. But like, there'll be people who watch and listen to us who, like, they get up at 3 a.m. to watch a midday kickoff or something. Like, those type of things, really, that's what I love about the online stuff. You know what I mean? And getting out there to those kind of communities, that's what I would like to do more of, if we can. Yeah. So fingers crossed, if these tickets for Ireland and Belfast and London go well, then we show that we can sell some tickets. These promoters might take us to a few more venues.
Man, they're going to be in America before you know it. And like you said there, like it's true. Liverpool Football Club is such a close-knit community. It doesn't really matter which part of the world you're from. And I want to, because I've seen that you're a big fan of other sports. I've seen you tweet about NFL quite a bit. I think I saw you in a CM Punk shirt once. So I assume like you're a bit of a wrestling fan. What's so different about football from other sports? What makes it stand out to you?
Yeah, it's so hard for me, mate. It's because what we were brought up with. My passion for Liverpool is just that. It is just passion, and other sports have it too. Don't get me wrong. It's just what I feel about it. I do love the NFL as well, and I'm very passionate. But nothing's really going to come close to Liverpool, is it? I'll be honest. You'd have to ask people like what attracts a fella in Texas to support in Liverpool. It doesn't really matter, if they support them and they follow them, and they're committed to following them, and they read and watch stuff, and they buy the merchandise, and they watch the games. I'm no better of a fan of them than them, because I live around the corner. That's just where I live. That's just circumstance. I think the joy of footy is the unpredictability of it. That's the thing with football. It's the best teams often win. They often do. Don't get me wrong. And the money influences in that obviously are a thing. But there's always the Jim Carrey. So you're telling me there's a chance, you're telling me there's a chance that Fleetwood can beat Man United. You know what I mean? It's just that in the back of your head. I think that's what people love about it. And the pace of it. You can sit down. You got 90 minutes, and it's just all go all the time. I think that's what it is. But yeah, it's hard. Everyone's different, aren't they, mate? But for me, like, watching Liverpool, and I was saying this yesterday. I was watching the game at home, and I was jumping around, and my missus are like, I never see you this animated ever. Like, I'm quite a chill person. We've come across a few times, if you know me. I'm quite relaxed. I'm quite chill. But for 90 minutes when the footy's on, I'm a bit of a lunatic. I don't know what it is. It's just something that's built inside me. And I was like, it was when, obviously we're recording this after the Newcastle game. It was when Diaz's goal was ruled offside, and I just slammed my hand on the sofa. I was like, fuck. And she was like, what is wrong with you? Like, it's and I was like, I don't know. There's just a switch in my head that just goes a little bit crazy for Liverpool.
And I've seen it in person. Like I said before, you're very sort of reserved. You're like you'll chat, but you'll just be doing your own thing. And then the minute the match comes on, I've never heard someone so loud. Like it goes from 0 to 100 real quick. You mentioned the Newcastle game there, and we're going to touch on that in a second. But just a bit of a thing, guys. If you haven't already, go check out the Finding Istanbul series that's over on RedmenTV. It's really, really the first episode's out. It's still going to get Jamie Carragher's signature. A lot more episodes of that coming out over the next few years or so, I believe. So everyone tune into that. Really, really interesting series. Production quality is off the scale, so that'd be really, really appreciated, I'm sure. Now, we just want to go. You mentioned the Newcastle game there, and we spoke about it before on Redmen. So there's not a huge amount to say that hasn't already been said, but one player I want to touch on is Darwin Nunes. He's a player who's divided a lot of opinion. A lot of people have different thoughts on him. What's your overall thoughts on him this season, and how do we? And it's a bit of a broad question. How do we get the best out of Darwin?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, if anyone's got any definitive judgment on Darwin Nunes, I can't work out how they've got there yet. I'll be honest. I don't think you can be convinced that he's brilliant, and I don't think you can be convinced that he's just absolutely rubbish. Usually, I think I was speaking the other day. We put an out on Redmen a while ago. It was over Christmas rather. It was the 50 greatest Liverpool signings of all time, and Fernando Torres is on that. Fernando Torres is on that list. I think he's in the 20s or maybe the teens. I can't quite remember. And I knew from watching Fernando Torres for like the first 10 minutes of his Liverpool career that we just aren't so great. Van Dijk, Salah. I remember being at a friendly in Wigan. Mo Salah played. I was like, he's boss. Like, you just straight away. Szoboszlai this season, I was like, yeah, he's brilliant. And then I've also seen players who you've seen for half an hour and go, he's crap. I remember pretty much everyone, Roy Hodgson signed. I was like, well, he's just, you can just tell straight away, you're just rubbish. I remember watching Joe Cole, that Arsenal game, and he's blowing out his arse after half an hour. I was like, well, he's crap. He's not going to do anything here. You could. And with Darwin, he is just a TBD. We just don't know. The good is really good, and the bad is really bad. And it's just my faith in him turning round comes from Jurgen Klopp and his coaching staff. In that, if anyone's going to make him become what he could potentially be, no one else. There's no one better than those people. Look how they develop. Look at what Trent Alexander-Arnold is, and just the list of young players who they develop. It's very rare that people get a player. Very rare we get a player who signs and leaves without getting better. Very few and far between. It doesn't really happen. Everyone we sign tends to do okay or gets better at least, unless there's injuries involved or something. It's very hard. So that's where my faith comes from him. But I couldn't sit here and say, like, I'm just convinced he's going to be brilliant and he's going to score 100 goals for Liverpool and we're all going to be fine. I think that I'd be lying if I said that. There are things that he has to get better at, and I think he'd say that himself. Like, he's a young lad. He's in his early 20s. He can get better. He is not the finished article, but the good is so promising. Like, I remember seeing with Salah when we first signed Salah, was like, he's constantly in on goal, just all the time. He is just. I remember in the preseason, and he was. I said, he's 1-on-1 with the goalie again. Like, how's that happen? He is constantly getting chances, and with Darwin, that is the main positive. He is always in front of goal. He's always involved. He's always getting shots off. He's always getting, he's always doing something. It's that end bit, and can you teach it? And footy players tell you it's the hardest thing to do is that last bit. So if he can improve that, then we'll be fine. But it's the world we live in, Lewis. Like, everyone's so quick to want to make a definitive. He's great. He's rubbish. He's good. He's rubbish. And I just don't think you can do it with Nunez yet. He is the signs are promising, but there's also some weaknesses that if he just doesn't get better, then it's never going to get better. So it is a bit of he's an enigma, but he's definitely one. I think you stick with him. He's not one you just cast aside now and go, he's not going to be good enough. Where there's been players in the past I've seen and gone, he's not. And to be fair, I think the coaching staff must think the same because they keep picking him. Jurgen's not afraid to sign a player and then go, you know what, he's not for me. Fabio Carvalho, for example, a young player he signed, had a look at him and thought, nah, he's been loaned out. He's come back and he'll probably be loaned again. It might be down the line. He's involved. We don't know, but they obviously like Darwin, and listen, I'll trust that fella's judgment. But I don't think, I think sometimes you can get is it like toxic positivity, where you're almost gaslighting people and lying to them and saying, "Oh, you're wrong. He's brilliant." He might not be. I don't think that's fair either. There are promising signs, but there's work to be done. I think that's my judgment on him.
No, I think it's a fair assessment. And like you mentioned Carvalho there, I think there's rumours he's going on loan to Leicester. I know they were saying they wanted him, so that one's going to develop. With Nunez, I said before, I think he's outstanding at the things that you just should not be able to do. Like instinctive finishing is his forte. Taking his time and having to really think through things can be a struggle for him. When we signed Nunez, did it feel like we were trying to reinvent the wheel? We went from this false nine system with Firmino allowing the wide players to get all the space in behind to this out-and-out striker. Did we just try and change things too quickly, possibly?
I always thought he was like the Mane replacement at first, and then then they had Diaz, so maybe not. Listen, I don't have many Bobby Firmino. Like he is a unique, one of a kind thing. Darwin, I think more the case was Liverpool wanted to be quicker, powerful, more strong. That kind of stuff, and he got all that. So I think they just seen the raw attributes of him and thought we can mold him to be this, and this, and you can see why they think that. Look at the team they've got, and when it's right, and they find him a lot, and he's got the things you can't teach. You can't teach that pace, that power, that aggressive. He has got all of that, and maybe it was just that you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. It doesn't work. And Bobby Firmino's a one-off. Gakpo can do it a bit, but it just isn't the same. They're all different players, so it's a redevelopment, and it's Liverpool basically saying, we need forwards, we need to change who we've got, and so I don't think it was a kind of changing too much away. I think it was just an evolution of what they wanted to be, and it's credit to Firmino that you just can't replace him. You might be Mane is the same. You can't replace Sadio Mane. We've got Diaz and we've got Jota, Gakpo and Nunez. They can all play on the left, but none of them are Sadio. They all do different things. They do some things better than Mane, and they do some things worse than Mane. And we'll find that when Salah leaves, that it's just impossible. You've got to just evolve. Would I have liked £80 million to get you a more finished product? I think I'd be lying if I said no. I would want Darwin Nunes to just be like the article straight away. You've got him bought him, and he's Erling Haaland, but from Uruguay. That's what we all would have wanted, but he's not. He is what he is. I think I can see why they spent the money on him. I definitely can. The attributes are clear. You can't buy some of that stuff. The pace is frightening, and the finishing ability at times is outrageous. I think what we said before, they just need to learn on that calming him down a little bit. But I have faith in that he can do it.
I think it's similar to when we lost Suarez and we tried to sign, Balotelli came in. We kept trying to rush Sturridge back. We signed Benteke. We signed all these players to try and replace him. And like you said, it just can't be done. And we're going through the same thing now. And you mentioned money spent, and it's a topic that, to be honest, it's been discussed numerous times over the years. It is FSG. Now, I'm of the personal belief that I don't think FSG are as bad as people make out. I think there's a lot of people who will say, they're not willing to invest, they're not willing to do that. But we've seen Chelsea who splash the cash to get worse. United splash the cash, get worse. What's your thoughts on FSG? And is there a sort of neutral in between them being good and bad in opinion?
I think they're pretty good, but sometimes they make decisions that I don't agree with. I don't think anyone who says they are bad owners of a football club, I think that's wrong. I don't think they are bad owners. I think we've had bad owners. Other teams have got bad owners now. They're not bad owners. The future of Liverpool Football Club isn't in jeopardy. That's what bad owners can do. I think sometimes they've made bad decisions, really bad decisions, whether that be transfer related or not. That can be things, the ticket price fiasco, the Fairlow stuff, like the trademarky stuff. That's all crap. And they shouldn't have done any of it, and that's bad. And listen, I don't know, are there any good billionaires in the world? I don't know, like good billionaires, do they exist? I don't know. So I think sometimes it's almost like people don't give them credit for the good. They just want to blame them for the bad. When you own a business, you're responsible for every single thing. So I've heard people say stuff like, they're lucky they got Jurgen Klopp. Well, they hired Jurgen Klopp. You know what I mean? My staff at Redmen are brilliant, but like I need to have a lot of credit, but we hired them. So like that's why we're getting good results, because we've got a hiring process that gets you good people. And if it doesn't, they probably wouldn't work here. So I'd like to take a little bit of credit for that as well. You know what I mean? So it's one of them. What sometimes I think that they can be too risk averse. And that can you just go that extra bit? Can you find one more? Can you do this? But I don't balance the books. They don't want to run Liverpool at a negative. People say, well, they're only in it to make money, and they absolutely are only in it to make money. There is no doubt about that. That's obvious. Liverpool will be worth a lot of money when they sell it. They'll have made so much money. But we've won every trophy, and the ground's getting better, and the infrastructure's getting better, and there's a new training facility. So I think they are decent enough. I think there are things like they can do more. I think sometimes the transfer stuff is frustrating, but what I don't get is like there's no ambiguity to it. Like everyone knows it. Like everyone knows the rules. Jurgen knows his budget. Michael Edwards at the time knew his budget. Julian Ward, now York Swagger. They are told this is it, and that's what. And I think that's fair. Sometimes like you might not always like what your boss says, but like as long as they explain like this is what it is and this is what it is, and then I think you can get your head around that. So I think anyone who says they're crap and Liverpool will be better off X, Y, and Z, I just don't know. They might be right. There will be better owners out there. There'll be some people who could buy Liverpool who could be better than them, and there could also be people who could be much worse. So listen, if we win the league again this year or win another couple of trophies, does that change people's minds? I don't know. It is a difficult question because it depends what you want as well. Like I don't want Liverpool to be owned by a state. I wouldn't be comfortable with that at all. That's just my preference. I wouldn't like to be owned by any state, whether it be any state, an African state, an Asian state, a European state. I just wouldn't want that to be the case. I wouldn't be comfortable with it. Liverpool being used as like a PR tool. I can just about swallow these American fellas using us to make money off us. I can just about swallow that, and it's not easy. You'd want ideally you'd want to be fan owned and community, but that's not the world we live in. So when they do sell, it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they go about it and who buys it. But yeah, I'm kind of like, I'd say, if one was disaster and 10 was like the greatest owners of a football club on the planet, I would be around like 6, 7, maybe 7, which is just a little bit better than good. Because I don't think we can argue with the good they've done, but they do listen. They make decisions sometimes that wind us all up.
That's the case with every boss and every owner everywhere. And my argument for them is there's people who say we should spend more money and bring in this player and bring in this player. We'd win X amount of leagues in 5 years. That's all well and good, but if then 5 years down the line, FFP come back and say we've breached regulations, we've breached this and breached that, and it's going to have a detriment on the club going forward, then what's the point? Like, I would rather have us be in a financially stable position to support the team that I love for years to come and for my kids to support than short-term success, which is going to see us in a financial struggle later on. I mean, a lot of the people who watch this have different opinions. Let us know in the comments what you think of yours. We've given ours here. Please let us know in the comments. Now, just sticking with the theme, money talks. What's next in the transfer market, January and summer? I've seen you with Neil Jones, obviously, on your channel. He's gone through a lot of different things that have been discussed. Inacio, Andre, players like that. What is the plan going forward, in your opinion?
My guess is I'm not convinced they'll sign someone. I think they probably should sign a defender. Would be my idea. Long term, maybe another number 6 on the horizon. But I think if they're going to do anything in January, it should be a defender. We're down. Obviously, Matip's gone now for the season. That might be him. That might be him forever at Liverpool. Like his contract's out, isn't it? So that could be the end. That could be the end of Joel Matip. So getting his replacements in, but also someone who can play now, because Ibu's injury record isn't great. We're asking Joe Gomez to be the backup left back at the moment and the backup right back. Gerald Kwanda's been a bonus. Again, I'm not saying Liverpool are lucky that they got Gerald Kwanzaa, because Liverpool developed Gerald Kwanzaa. Jürgen decided that he was the man ready, and he has been ready. But I still think we're on thin ice with the defence stuff now. Robertson and Tsimikas, we'll see when they're back. You're probably looking February, March, potentially. So if it was me, I would want a centre-back who can also play a full-back. Whether that's right-back or left-back, I don't really care which. If it's a right-back, then Joe Gomez just becomes the backup left-back for a bit. And if it's someone who can only play left-back, then Gomez becomes Trent's understudy kind of thing. So I think the plan should be a centre-half who can also do a job at full-back. If I'm just saying that if they can find one, I don't know if they can. Long term, as good as Endo is and has been, and he's been a very good sign, I wouldn't be shocked if Liverpool look at something there. And then they're going to lose. They're going to lose Thiago, so there's going to be space in the squad for another midfield option, you would think. I think in this window, if they do anything, I think it'll be a defender. I'm not convinced they will. I think they should. My guess is, I don't know what the plan was with Joel Matip, but they must have had half an eye on somebody to be, because there's no guarantee he would sign a contract even if you offered it to him. There must be someone a couple of people on the list. And similar what they did with Diaz and similar what they did with Cody Gakpo, they brought forward summer signings. That was because they thought someone else was going to sign that person. But if they think there's a defender who they were going to go for in the summer anyway, I think they should go and get it done now. And just because, listen, I didn't expect Liverpool to be top of the league at the tail of the new year. If you'd have said to me, you'd have been in and around Champions League qualification, third, fourth, I think we'd have had to take that because of how bad last season was. The fact that they're top now, it's almost like, well, go and get it. Go and get it. Make sure if we want to. Listen, Liverpool come in 4 trophies. They're in a semi-final, the top of the league, and they're through in Europe, and then the FA Cup. We'll see how it's got a tough game. We'll see how that goes. But I think similar to when they signed Luis Diaz, it just gave them that little bit of a boost in that January when they were trying to win everything. They went and won 2 trophies, came down close to winning the others. I think this time you could probably do that with a defender. We are Ibu Konate an Ibu Konate injury away, which is very likely to happen given his history from having the same centre backs playing every single game for a month or two. Nat Phillips back off loan, and all of a sudden there's Premier League game and Nat's back in. With all due respect to Nat, I think that ship should have sailed. So, with Gomez now being deputising at both full-back positions, I think they need to go and sign a centre-back.
Yeah, I agree. And I said that it's easier to train someone to sort of be in that number 6 role than it is to make someone a centre-back. Makeshift centre-backs are just almost unheard of. Now, just like last 2 questions, I suppose the first one is, where do you think we're going to end this season? Now, I know obviously league title is the ambition, and that's what we all want. But in a sort of, where do you think we're going to end up in all the competitions here? What's, realistically?
I do think they'll win the league. But it's listen, I wouldn't be putting my house on it, you know what I mean? There's some good teams. City are just lacking. I think if you said to me what's going to be happening in the spring, I think it's going to be back to being Liverpool and Man City again. That would be my guess. Arsenal could change that with some signings in January. I don't see Villa and Spurs yet, although they'd argue differently. But I think it's going to come down to us on City again, and I'm just going to blind faith backwards. I think they'll probably win the League Cup, and then who knows? They should go. It depends on the draw in the FA Cup in Europe. I wouldn't be shocked if Arsenal beat them in the FA Cup. Depends on what type of team we put out, what they put out. Europe will depend on who's still left in it. But we are, even with the teams dropping out of the Champions League, we're still the best team in that competition, regardless of who's dropping down. I mean, there's no PSG haven't dropped in any. I've been probably better than them, to be honest, but there's no massive shock of someone who's dropped down. Probably Milan, Leverkusen, us. I think we're better. And as good as Leverkusen are, I think we're better. So that'll depend on the draw and the injuries and stuff. But I think we're going to have a very busy end of the season. This time I'm doing the Redmen. We've got a meeting on Thursday for Redmen. A bit of a planning meeting for the next few months. And I'm planning to be very busy. I'm planning for there to be a lot of fixtures and travel plans for semi-finals, a final potentially as well. So I think we're in good nick. You're only ever one injury or two injuries or a mad run of form away from it going to the pot. We were top of the league, and then all our defenders got injured, and and then we needed our goalie to score a goal at one point. So things can change very quickly, but I think they're in a very good position. They have far exceeded my expectations on what was possible in, when you're changing, when it's such a drastic change and you're losing so many players over like a year or so. So no Firmino, no Mane, no Henderson, no Fabinho, no Wijnaldum. I know some of this has been gradual, but it has been a pretty big change in the guard. The midfield's obviously the main area, but even the forward line isn't. It's still a work in progress, really. We've only had all 5 of these playing fit and firing for like 6 months or something together since Gakpo signed. So I think credit to them. I think they've done so well, absolutely fantastic, and there's no reason why they can't continue it.
Great. And just finally, Steve, before we shoot, I need to know who's been your player of the season for Liverpool.
That is a very good question. Wow, I think the good news is, if you'd asked me this last year, I was struggling to find any names. I was thinking, who's been good this year? I think the goalkeeper's been amazing. Van Dijk's been fantastic. Gomez, Salah. Are they probably the 4 standouts? There's probably others in there as well that I'm missing. I think Trent's been excellent. Yeah, I should have mentioned Alexander-Arnold. He had a bit of an iffier start, but I've been really impressed with Curtis Jones. Harvey Elliott have been good. I think it would I'd say Van Dijk, in that I think his level has been the most consistent of all. He's often been at 8 out of 10 every game. Salah's been 10s, 4s, 9, 5. You know what I mean? The great, and listen, you can't argue with the goals and assists that he's had. He's been a joke. But I'd say for sustained excellence, I'd say Van Dijk and Alisson are probably the 2 who've been consistently the best. You can count the mistakes on one hand from the pair of them, but I'd probably say Virgil. I'm not sure if that's controversial or not.
No, I'd agree. I think Virgil's definitely. He was a player who I not slated, that's the wrong word, but earlier in the season I was a bit, he looks slow, he doesn't look up to it, but I think he's proven me exceptionally wrong. So thank you for that, Virg. But that is all the time we've got for today. Just want to say a massive thank you once again to Steve for coming on. Really, really is appreciated. And if you guys haven't already, please head over to RedmenTV and make sure to subscribe. And also check out the tickets for the upcoming shows in Ireland in March and London in April. There's a lot of exciting series going on over there. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the LFC Transfer Room. We have daily streams, 7:30 p.m. UK time. And also go check out my last expert analysis with Flav Bateman from The Fighting Cock. Steve, thank you very much for coming on, and I'm sure I'll see you again at some point in the near future. Once again, guys, thank you very much, and please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.